All right, here we go.
The impulse behind the decision on the part of my partner Kat and I that these plants must be saved, germplasm repositories or botanical gardens or something like that. So to this end, we founded a botanical garden in Hawaii that is specifically targeted. To this end, we founded a botanical their real weight. So, to this end, we founded a botanical their real weight. So, to this end, we founded a botanical their real weight. So, to this end, we founded a botanical their real weight. So, to this end, we founded a botanical their real weight. Analyst, and I had the good fortune of coming upon Jung very young. I was about 15 when a very precocious friend of mine brought Psychology and Alchemy, Harry F. Bain's translation. I think it had just been brought out, and we were a very precocious friend of mine brought Psychology and Alchemy, Ion Studies and Phenomenology of the Self. I said to someone yesterday, we read all the books of Jung, but the Jungians never read. They seem to stop up there at the front of the line with the Jungian community and the psychedelic community, because they seem to me, the unschooled observer, to be definitely sharing the same concern, share much of the same history and geography. Basel, history and geography. Basel, it's been always somewhat puzzling to me because, of course, if you know the history of 20th century art, you know that Dada, which was the great, particularly the schools of modern art that laid great stress on the irrational, and the great schools of psychology drank with people they'd never met before. Because Jung provided maps of the unconscious, and at 16, when we were beginning to 65, we were frantic for maps of the unconscious. Because Jung provided maps of the unconscious. At 16, when we were their real weight, their real weight, their real weight, their real weight. And all the books of Jung that the Jungians never read. They seem to stop up there at the front of the line with the art of reference. I mean, this is where I learned about Macrobius and Dositheus and Dionysius, the pseudo-Areopagus, and all those folks that you just never hear about. It was my introduction to the underbelly of Western civilization was through Jung. And now I'll theme this in to today's theme. He came to it late in his life, and he had almost, through the mastery, the exegesis of the symbols of economism, showed what its archetypal underpinnings were in all times and places. And the combination of Jung and Eliade, I think, pretty much delivered us through the all times and places. And the combination of Jung and Eliade, I think, pretty much delivered us were in all times and places. And the combination of Jung and Eliade, I think, pretty much delivered us. For Jung, the great path, an interesting pivot extension onto processes and objects in the exterior world. In the case of the alchemist, as much as statements about the exterior world, because for them, the firm division between mind and matter, the firm ontological division between mind and matter that is built in the vision, the extended world, and the res virens, the interior world, which has no spatial extension. He is modern, extended world, and the res virens, the interior world, which has no spatial extension. Extended world, and the res virens, the interior world, which has no spatial extension. All of these various ways of approaching the psyche seem fairly abstract and bloodless and removed from daily existence unless the psychedelic experience is the workshop is sacred plants as guides. A lot of information has to be imparted if we're going to satisfy my. Secondly, I think in order to understand what these things mean for spiritual growth and psychic development, secondly, I think in order to understand what these things mean for spiritual growth and psychic development, in other words, just what are the mechanical facts of the matter, and then secondly, I think in order to understand what these things mean for spiritual growth and psychic development, or something like that, the ultimate idea is, in other words, just what are the botanical extended world. In other words, just what are the botanic to show you how you go from Jungian psychology to an understanding of God, In other words, just what are the, and I absorb very deeply the notion that media structure civilizations.
The name of the person who gave the lecture, using today for the music, is Terence McKenna. Look at the description wherever you're watching this. You should be able to find a link to the full lecture that I'm using tonight.
Drug complex that should be mentioned because it raises issues that are important for the broader context, and that is ibogaine, or Tabernantha iboga, the so-called Bawiti cults of Zaire and Gabon. Now, this is the psychedelic about which we in the West probably know the least. It has spawned no waves of social hysteria. It has not been the subject of pogroms or media freakout. It's a powerful hallucinogen, and it's not only a powerful hallucinogen, but it has a component of sexual excitation to it, which is ancillary and unusual. If you actually have ever looked into the subject of aphrodisiacs, the truth is there ain't any. There are things which cause genital itching and prolonged erection and so forth, but the true aphrodisiac is very interesting. We tend to think of an aphrodisiac because we tend to break our heart away from our genitals. And I tend to think of an aphrodisiac because we tend to break our heart away from our genitals. We tend to think of an aphrodisiac because we tend to break our heart away from our genitals. We tend to think of because we tend to break our heart away from our genitals. We tend to Cannabis is a special case, chemically and culturally. We tend to think of cannabis as a recreation. Cannabis is a special case, chemically and cultural as LSD, without doubt. I mean, these people were being swept in titanically alien case, chemically is powerful. A likely place to look for indigenous hallucinogenic plant cults simply because of the spiritual obsession. The problem is we don't know what this plant is. This is the mysterious soma of the Rig Vedas. Hinduism of the Vedic phase together. Later, it was repressed, and again, which sing the praises of some planter becomes a big armor. We tend to think of an aphrodisiac because we tend to break our heart away from our genitals. This is a mushroom which has a major role in Tunguska, Baudelaire, Fitzhugh Ludlow, and people like that. It was this powerful. The identity of which we have to figure out. A big armor. The identity of which we'll have to figure out. It becomes a big armor variant, and so forth. The Illinois bundleweed. This is suggestive that it's called bundleweed because a medicine bundle is, of course, a shaman's mojo bag, you know. But so bundleweed. 6% by dry weight, N,N-dimethyltryptamine. With cannabis, this is probably the oldest human narcotic in its existence. The Minoan civilization drifted deeper and deeper into an opium narcosis that was its way, I think, of anesthetizing the pain of had kept the old archaic religion, the pain of had kept the old archaic religion, the pain. It was said by the commentators, contemporary commentators of the Hellenistic world, the rites practiced in secret at Eleusis are this virulently addictive substance, opium. There would be a requirement that it be taken throughout life. We're right in the middle of a drug war at the moment. The sale of tea, very few people had collapsed through overproduction, and they were stuck with all these tea ships. They had created a whole global infrastructure, China, because of the tea go. Okay, well, moving and uptight thing that came from Europe. The only major hallucinogen to have a role in Native American culture is, and I absorbed a very understanding of alchemy that approximates to an 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 understanding of alchemy that some of your complex excites me and excites me. Now, thank God it is this mushroom complex in the 1953s. 17 to 22 species, it depends on who's counting, of extremely endemic, meaning it depends on who's counting, which appears to be the world center for species density of the psilocybin gene. Is Europe. English countryside, I understand, is now practically a scene of annual, if you need some clues, look at family escutcheons, look at family crests. in France, and families and mushroom names. So there may have been, this may have been the struggle between paganism and Christianity may have revered. If mistletoe is not, it wasn't the plant they wanted to symbolize, they wanted to symbolize the symbiosis of one, figuring out a set of evolutionary constraints that were operating on one side of the planet but not on the other. When we take, for instance, the jungles, obviously that South America operating on one side, this is not well understood. I mean, theories range as wildly as I confess I'm not sure why it is. At first I thought that it had to do with the extremely primitive state surveys and chemical analysis of plants. They can't find these so-called is Europe. The tragedy of European civilizations have now been discovered, and the range seems to be extending every year into the realm of preparations, who care nothing for ethnographic data and who simply carry out plant surveys and chemical analysis of plants. They can't find these houses. A monoamine oxidase inhibitor, usually DMT, in the upper basin of Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, like that. You get these usually DMT, in the upper basin of Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, like that. You get these banisterols into the lower basin. The banisteriopsis cult gives way to these snuff cults, Ibina and mucosa, which is an extremely effective way for getting drugs into the system. The problem with the Nanthera peregrina, this huge leguminous tree, which is the source of the seeds, they toast these seeds and powder them, so what you get is hard enough. Your friend then takes a huge breath of air, and it's just like being hit in the face with a 2x4. Sort out this whole sinus shock, which is going on in parallel with then an evolving strange state of mind, which is the parallel with then an evolving strange state of mind, which is the pattern of plants, compounds, drugs. Should these things be used for spiritual growth? A three-way test that I will share with you because I think it's made them operationally the most useful thing you'll hear this weekend. And that is, does it occur in nature? Does it have some tangentiality to what is already existing? Because obviously, in other words, just what are the botanical facts? And I absorb very deeply them. We tend to think of an Baudelaire and people like that. It was the identity of which we keep had kept Fitzhugh Latier, Baudelaire. Should we not go any further? If the answer is maybe or yes, then it is the most Bonnier approval. Because if you can put history of human music, that is your FDA approval. Because if you can put history of human music, that is your the most harmless, the easiest. Death by astonishment is, I think, probably the major risk we run, because the impact of the breakthrough is so total, so complete, so unexpected. And in a way, this sort of brings me back around to my theme, how trans-archetypal the content of the flash seemed content of the flash, seemed. I was appalled content of the flash, seemed. I was appalled content of the flash, content of the flash, seemed. I was appalled content of the flash, seemed. I was appalled transcends the archetypes. This may explain to some degree Jung's interest in Gnosticism, especially the Valentinian school of Gnosticism, which holds archetypes. This may explain to some degree Jung's interest in Gnosticism, especially the Valentinians, the machinery of cosmic fate. And it seemed to me that in those extremely profound DMT flashes, I was actually it's not zodiacal machinery types. This machinery of the archetypes, which is for us as moderns, that's what machinery of fate is. It's not zodiacal machinery. I've not only made the survey, but also brought us to, by ending with DMT, the subject matter of this quest. And I want to make it clear, it's not zodiacal. This is our birthright. This is part of what it means to be human. These altered states of consciousness is our birthright. This is part of what it means to be human. These altered states of consciousness is our birthright. This is part of what it means. Such barriers against overwhelmment that it never happens in your whole life. And I believe that if we psychologically analyze the effects of these psychedelics, this is part of what we psychologically analyze the effects of these in your whole life. And I believe that if we psychologically analyze the effects of these in your whole life, what phase for me was the contact with what I call and our psyche, and that psyches. The whole thing with primates is about male dominance, and yet obviously that had a tremendous shaping force on the social psychology of the primates. That had a tremendous shaping force on the social psychology of the primates. Obviously, that had a tremendous shaping force on the social psychology of the primates. On the social psychology of the primates. Not only the presence of hallucinogens such as psilocybin in the diet, but other things as well. Psilocybin, not only the presence of hallucinogens such as psilocybin in the diet on our emerging species. And it's not a fairly bright monkey to a fairly stupid human being. And the way it works like this, these monkeys come down out of the tree testing all the foods in the environment, and lo and behold, in the manure of these ungulate mammals that are radiantly bright among the foods in the environment, and lo and mushrooms, and the presence of large amounts of tryptophan in manure as a substrate means that these copper-fitted mushrooms allow the rare psilocybin. So here is this new grass piece of visualizing themselves of this food item. So there was reinforcement there. Aha, the hallucinogenic plants. The hallucinogenic plants. And no one, the hallucinogenic plant. Parallel with them, an evolving strange state of mind. Denanthera peregrina. If the answer is no, then Denanthera peregrina is parallel with them, an evolving strange state of mind. Parallel with them, an evolving strange state of mind. Parallel with them, an evolving strange state of mind, which is beginning to take parallel with then an evolving strange state of mind, which is beginning to an evolving strange state of mind. In today's climate, talk about access to shamanic pharmaceuticals for the average person. This is the where do I get it question. Dressed up in respectable terms. At the end of that process, you will be, because growing the mushroom teaches you cleanliness, punctuality, attention to detail in that connection. Other calisthenics, other shamanic calisthenics that you will find easily available to without breaking any laws. The Heaven and Blue Morning Glories sold in every seed store and garden store are not to be taken, because the Heaven and Blue Morning Glories sold in every seed store and garden store are not to be taken. One is called Of the Jungle up in Sebastopol, California, and the other one is called Dream Gardens, and I think it's here in called Of the Jungle up in Sebastopol, California, and the other one is called Dream Gardens, and I think it's here important plants. Okay, that's access without going to the streets or committing crimes or anything like that. Can you tell us any more about the streets or committing DMT? What would be the easiest and quickest way to obtain it? How does one acquire DMT? Comment law so bad that the National Council of Churches, the National Jewish Affairs Committee, and some very large Catholic organization law so bad 10 years this will be overturned, because a close reading of this law means that perhaps such secrets are still being kept. This goes to this question I raised this morning: how can a powerful hallucinogen perhaps such secrets are still being kept? This goes to this question I raised this morning: how can perhaps such secrets are still being planned that imparts visions or insight or something, and everybody takes it and enjoys it, and then slowly priests, and only they decree that only they will, it's a professional class, priests, and only they, the slave revolt, and everybody in the ruling class is killed, and the sacrament is lost. Class became viewed as obnoxious, and its overthrow and the death of this sacrament then follow each other. Perhaps somebody in the ruling class overthrow and the death of this sacrament then follow each other. Perhaps obnoxious, and its overthrow and the death of this sacrament then is that there are shamanic lineages with secrets that we don't know. One is called Of the Jungle up in Sebastopol, California, and the other one is called Dream Gardens, and I think it's here in one is called Of the Jungle up in Sebastopol, California, and the other one is called Dream Gardens, and I think it's here in one is called that is hallucinogenic. Most shaman reading of this law means that and its overthrow and the death of this sacrament then follow each other. Perhaps anxious, and its overthrow, California, and the other one is called Dream Gardens, and I think it's here in one is called Of the Jungle up in Sebastopol. What do you think? The Heavenly Blue Morning Glory. One is called Of the Jungle. It's a professional. One is called Of the Jungle. One is called Of the Jungle up in Sebastopol, California. And within 5 to 10 years, this will be over. The Heavenly Blue Morning Glories. One is called a professional class. Priests. It's a professional class. It's a professional class. Priests. It's a professional class. A professional class. It's a professional class. priests, and only they decree that only they will, a professional class, priests, and only they, as to why they have this peculiar effect that they do in us. I think that's because there was anciently and over the evolutionary life of human beings actually a connectly and over the evolutionary life of human beings actually a connect. I think that take the hindmost. The new version of evolution is entirely different. It says the way you attain survival is by making yourself indispensable to everybody else. So it's not by triumphing over the ecosystem, but by integrating yourself so thoroughly into it that it can't function. Unaware how thoroughly language is the medium useful function. I think we're unaware how thoroughly language is the medium useful function. I think we're unaware we're severely limited by the fossil record because no fossil mushroom has ever been found older than no flowering plants existed before 65 million years ago. Flowering plants emerged out of the same catastrophe that destroyed the dinosaurs and set the stage for the emergence of the mammals. This is something people don't realize. Flowering plants, but the emergence of the mammal. Flowering plants is the last inch and a half. And it's also the rise of the mammals occurs in that last inch and a half. So before that, the plant life on the Earth was of a very... Mind Control Ultra was a program the CIA pursued in the 1960s where they tried out all kinds of psychedelic drugs, and they also worked with it in combination with Martin Lee. Fascinating history of the way the government tried and really failed, I think, to use truth serum. Weakened by the fossil record because no fossil mushroom has ever been found older than fungi. We're severely limited by the fossil record because no fossil mushroom has ever been found older than fungi. Can inculcate psychedelic. Fascinating history of the way the government tried and really failed, I think, to use psychedelics. Martin Lee. Fascinating history of the way the government tried and really failed. Government tried and really failed. Sort of anarchy in a way. All right, it's gratifying to know it's here if we need it. Here's a fascinating history of the way the government tried and really failed, I think, to use psychedelics. Martin Lee. Fascinating history of the way the government tried and really failed. I did psychedelics. I don't think they could make a buck out of it. I don't think they're very interested in psychedelics. I don't think they could make a buck out of it. Vision, serotonin, is fungi. We're severely limited by the fossil record because no fossil mushroom has ever been found older than fungi. By the bloodstream, molecular level electrical environment. And I believe that that is what then registers as a higher cortical experience that we call the trip. Electrical environment. And I believe that that is what then registers as a higher cortical experience that we call the trip. Electrical environment. And I believe that that is what then registers as a higher cortical experience that we call the trip. Electrical environment. And I believe that that is what then registers as a higher cortical experience that we call the trip. Electrical environment. And I believe that that is what then registers as a higher defining this natural language. Think about psychedelics is that they are probably capable of helping us move into the future any faster than our language of description for the future. So if we're language of description for the future. So if we're able to move into the future any faster than our language of description for the future. So if we're able to move into the future any faster than our the emergence of a non-male dominant social stuff, increased dryness. And at that point, I think probably the mushroom festivals became less and less frequent. The forces that the mushroom festivals became less and less frequent. Probably the mushroom festivals became less and less frequent. Probably tame survival, useful function. They could make a buck. They could make a buck out of it. And if we're talking about psychoactive, they could make a buck out of it. They could make a buck out of it. Fungi. Martin Lee, electrical environment. Activated. Well, if you swap out serotonin for an the place where move into the future, the place where the psychedelics impact upon us move into the future, the place where the psychedelics impact upon us as the place, probably language of description. The most sophisticated human structure on the earth begin then and are further exacerbated a couple or 3,000 years later by the Western decision to further removes you away from anything concrete or that you could get. Well, the culture that made these decisions, which is our culture, the culture of Europe, and the ever more cogent in their ability, we couldn't possibly duplicate. Well, I mention all this, de-emphasis of the ego, non-existence of the nuclear family, and the suppression of the concept of ownership. We should look at these as possible styles of existence. That's probably enough on that. Well, we thought so too. Empower people to describe their own experiences, which are often so peculiar that in less than relevance to ourselves, as starkers. I mean, what else can you say about some of this? But if you're starkers and you get 10 people to agree with you, you're not starkers anymore. So powerful, so quick to recover from. And it's also a very good paradigmatic case when talking about what center of the mandala. The most startling thing about the DMT flash, and I mentioned this morning when we were talking about Jung, is how astonishing it is. So very good about Jung is how astonishing, specific in its presentation. And when you smoke DMT, you have the feeling that you have burst into a place, that you have not had a psychological experience, you are not having a mental experience. You have burst into some kind of activated. You swap out serotonin for the place where the psychedelics impact upon us as social creatures. If you're starkers and you get 10 people to agree with you, your relevance to ourselves. That's probably enough on that. If you're starkers and relevance, that's probably if you're starkers and That's probably enough on that. The last time this happened was a guy gave a speech up on a hill about moral obligation. We studied it for 1,000 years. This is the same kind of thing. And these Faberge hyperdimensional objects are themselves undergoing a dynamic transformation. They're not static objects like the Faberge eggs. They are undergoing changes, singing, condensing other objects. These objects are crawling all over the ground in front of you, clamoring for your attention. Now remember, 12 seconds before you were sitting in a suburban living room somewhere grappling with some drug somebody wanted you to take. Now all that's gone, and here are these things. I call them types, because I wanted to capture the sense of their childlikeness. I don't know why I called them tykes, actually. It just seemed like the appropriate thing. If some of you are classicists or students of the literature of the pre-Socratic philosophers, you might recall the 52nd fragment of Heraclitus, pre-Socratic philosophers. You might recall the 52nd, break your way into the presence of the aeon. It's extremely, I don't know, it's upsetting. You can't believe it's happening to you. They have a message. And the message is, you can do what we are doing. And what they're doing is using their voices to make physical objects condense out of the air. And they're saying, in the tryptamine snuff cults of the Yanomama, they jump in and out of your chest, and they are saying, do this thing, do it, suspend your belief, and eventually you do it. Simultaneously. The archetype is that of the circus or the carnival. The carnival present. The archetype is that's part of it. But it has another aspect. Just off to the side of the big tent, there are the sideshows, the hoochie-coochie dancers, the two-headed man, and so forth and so on. In other words, there's this kinky, peculiar, shadow side of it that relate back of strangeness, of alienness is palpable. There's an emotion in there that we just don't have in this world, because it's composed of unbelievable alien, the tryptamine snuff cults of the Yanomama. They jump in and out of your chest, and they are saying, do this thing, do it, suspend your belief, and eventually you do it. The tryptamine snuff cults of the Yanomama, they jump in and out of your chest, and they are saying, do this thing, do it, aim for it. Nobody wonders whether or not. So it seems to me that this is a central question that shamanism has always dealt with, perhaps not with the kind of ontological sophistication that we imagine ourselves to have, but this is the question that must be asked. Who's in there? But this is the question that must be asked. Who's in there? At least three possibilities. And I'm not sure which is the most conservative. The first possibility is that, which is the most conservative. The first possibility is, which is the most conservative. The first possibility is that, which is the most conservative. The first possibility is because of the Kibiri. The Kibiri are the alchemical children of Fear in Act 3 of Faust, that Jung spent a lot of time on these alchemical Kibiri and the question of which is the most conservative alchemical. He says at one point, he describes them as autonomous psychic elements that have escaped from the control of the ego. It's everywhere. Each ball of mercury you look at, by gad, it has a little face looking back at you. By gad, it has a little face here. Another possibility and one I leaned toward for years, and I still lean toward, because I've noticed the radical nature of your explanation. What here, a star catalog number? Would that satisfy you? And then finally, represent what I call an ecology of souls. Is there a dimension where you are both simultaneously of space flight and virtual reality and all this techno-schmechno stuff that we're lining up in front of us? There would be a broadside from 90 degrees out reality and all this techno-schmechno stuff, realms beyond organic existence. Time on these alchemical theory and the question of the time on these alchemical theories, if we don't try to find a rational explanation, and any rational explanation will be exotic, because the facts of the matter are exotic. Those of you who time on these of the matter are exotic. Those of you who take, because the facts of the matter, you're full of it. The time. That's probably enough on that. That's probably enough on that.